Mark Szymanski, welcome back to the WP Minute.
Matt Medeiros, it's always a pleasure. Happy to be here. Anytime you ask.
It's this, like literally 10 minutes ago. It's a solopreneur playlist on YouTube. That's what I call it. I don't even call it a podcast because I refuse to call anything that originates on YouTube as a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. I think you could still have podcasts on YouTube, but you just have to have it on podcast feed as well.
Here's the thing. I am also a content creator in the podcast space. I have a podcast newsletter, thepodcastsetup.com. Just relaunched it back on Ghost. Whoa. We can talk about that if you want in a little bit. But, here's the thing I want to start with. This is going to lose everybody in the WordPress audience. Podcasting, the word podcasting, has never been more valuable in the zeitgeist, in the culture of online stuff. Podcasting has never been more valuable. True or false?
I didn't know I was going to get a question there. You're saying the word is valuable?
Yeah, like having a podcast, being on a podcast, podcast as like a thing people do has never been more valuable. Now, you might be a little too young, but you started a podcast right out of the gate not too long ago, right?
I have several. I've had several. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think everybody and their mother has a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually, I mean, I agree with your sentiment only from one angle though. Like I agree with it. I agree with it from the idea of like podcasting can be valuable. The concept is a valuable concept and you can get to a level. But it's like it's like so many other things where you see a Joe Rogan, a Chris Williamson, a whoever, and you're like, oh, you think you're going to get there just by like buying some microphones and like putting your stuff on an RSS feed. So I don't know what angle you were going with that. I don't know what sparked that thought in your mind. I'm happy to dig into it, but that would be my initial gut reaction is like, it's not inherently valuable. Like it can be, but I guess that's like a lot of things. So where were you coming from?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most things you look at is like, can I make a business and make money out of this? But I'm referring to the culture, right? Like everyone and their mother might have a podcast, yes, and that's sort of what I was leaning towards. But when you look at how power and I almost said respect, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Like I don't want to say authority either, but like, people listening to more podcasts and being influenced by more podcasts. And I don't even like that word either. Like I think people gathering around more individual personalities through podcasting has never been greater. Whether it's just like your favorite comedian or your favorite whatever news personality, your favorite business podcast. Like I think it is at an all-time high right now. Now, this is me who has been studying the space for, quite some time. Podcast movement is happening right now, which is one of the biggest podcast events. Right, it actually just ended, but it was started this week. It was in Dallas, Texas. And like the big push to, people going, YouTube trying to dominate podcasting. A lot of folks sort of like jumping on with video at the start of the year, but I think people are starting to clearly see like it's not just video, it's not just audio, but like owning that relationship. And I think the word podcast is synonymous with somebody wanting to broadcast something to get a message out and cultivate that audience and that community like experience. I think that's just like where the height of the value is for podcasting right now. I think a lot of people get it finally. It's accessible because of places like YouTube. I'll give it that, like makes it easy, makes it easier. But I think people are like really see the value in like what we're doing right now.
I mean, for sure. I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but like, I mean, I've talked to you so many times about this, but what is your definition of podcasting? Can a podcast be video or no?
A podcast can be video, but a podcast is also about the distribution, in my opinion. So it is on an RSS feed that can be distributed anywhere. I'll give it the ability to be a video, but with the understanding that, like, if you're trying to like grow a podcast, then you're thinking in ear mostly.
Yeah, I mean, so like if you the series that I just started with Christian Taylor, like obviously it has to have video because if we were just talking, most of the stuff wouldn't make any sense. And that's the tough part about, kind of our industry. I feel like a lot of it, if you're doing tutorial content, you need the video aspect. So a lot of it's not going to be a podcast, but or like, audio first mentality. But my point is like you could have a show or a series on YouTube, and obviously that's not a podcast. Like there's probably people out there calling that a podcast, but they don't
Sure.
have it on an RSS feed until they understand that is what, where the word comes from and actually what that means. So I'm with you on that. I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I'm obviously a video first guy for the most part because I feel like you're going to have audio in a video and it's just like the best, but I understand the limitations of resources and whatever. So, but like you can't, correct me if I'm wrong, can you actually put a video on an RSS feed?
So it's funny you say that. There's
Or 2.0 or
well,
whatever,
for like,
maybe, yes?
yeah, I mean, literally for years. I mean, since the beginning of online video, when Apple first started supporting it, you could have video in an RSS feed like 23 years ago when Apple finally started supporting video in what was then called iTunes. It's just people didn't do it because back then it was like files were just gigantic, upload speeds were terrible, download speeds were even worse. Like, it was a mess. So forever the industry has supported it. What had happened was the costs, number one, and two, like podcast players largely supported audio because it was just quicker and easier. Here we are, fast forward, 20 plus years. They are trying, the podcasting 2.0 guys, and I'm interested to find out what happens after this podcast movement because they all met up there. They're trying to push for what is known as HLS, which is more of a streaming technology for video, but they're trying to make a concerted movement forward on that. And what they have to do is get, just like we do in WordPress, like they have to get a bunch of these podcast hosts to want to support it, at least like 2 or 3 of the major ones, so that it makes a bigger splash. And then podcasters like you and I can then say, oh, my podcast host supports video, and I will upload my video to my podcast host as well, and not just on YouTube, right? Because that's the point. The essence, in my opinion, and I think a lot of other people's opinions, is podcasting is about that flexibility of distribution. And now with video, we can probably do it. Or excuse me, with HLS, we can do it with video.
Yeah, I mean, obviously YouTube has made it abundantly confusing for the average person. Like, do I have a podcast? Is it just a playlist that says it's a podcast? Like the RSS, like there's no real RSS. Like you can bring it in, but it's not really. So yeah, I mean, I'm again with you there. I'm understanding. I can't imagine YouTube is gonna like that whole HLS concept, or they're gonna want to.
It's actually the technology that YouTube uses. It's like what everyone uses. It's not. This is what I would probably say like an industry standard. It's actually developed by Apple, I believe.
Okay, well, I mean, okay, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, if you could, I would love to know this. I don't know any of this thing. I'm just, thinking out loud because it's a topic you brought up. If you go to like, again, I just use the biggest one in the world, like a Joe Rogan, right? And you look, okay, now he's back on YouTube. What are his numbers on YouTube versus his numbers on Spotify versus Apple Podcasts or whatever? I just think it would be really interesting to know that information. I don't know if that's publicly accessible at all, but my point is like, I think that the distribution on YouTube is just so unbelievably massive that I would be shocked if that's not where most people are listening to things at. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. You'd probably say it's kind of slightly bad, but I'm just like, I just always fall back to that. It's like really easy. It can be free. I pay for YouTube Premium, so there's like no reason for me not to do that because the experience is so great because there's no ads unless they're baked in, which, you know, now it has the jump ahead feature most of the time. You can just click it. And if I want to watch or glance, I can do that, but I can't do that with just audio only. So I'm
Sure.
excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this video thing you're talking about. I'm excited for that because if I had a podcast, which I do have a podcast, but if I did it regularly, and I'm going to always have a video component in any sort of show that I do. And if it's going to be a podcast, if it's mostly, if it's not, you know, visual first, if it's conversation based, then it will be a pod. I will also make it a podcast if I ever have more. So it's like, you know, I would be happy to just film the thing and put it on all the podcast apps as well. I mean, when I used Anchor, I would upload the video twice. I'd upload the video on Spotify for creators or Anchor or whatever, whenever it turned into Spotify, whenever it had that. And then I would upload it to YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I want the most distribution possible of video and the audio.
Yeah. I agree. To me, it's all about, you know, the distribution side. The Joe Rogan numbers, I would probably say he's probably a rare case where his audio numbers are probably higher than his YouTube stuff because he was one of the very early podcasters to start. And then when he was premium to Spotify, I highly doubt people were watching the video on Spotify. And most people are probably just listening. And I don't know if the pendulum would swing that far back, even, you know, 8-9 months into the year, for him to like dominate on the YouTube side. But yeah, I'm interested to see where this stuff goes. But I transitioned back to Ghost. Want to talk about that for a second?
Spooky. Yeah, let's do it.
Have you ever used Ghost?
I don't think so. I've heard about it. I've seen it, but I haven't used it.
Do you remember when I started something called the CMS Minute?
Yeah, bro. I'm still waiting on the rest of those CMSs.
Yeah. Well, guess what? That series is dead. Yeah, I had some reflection, and I'm putting this out on a post on the podcast setup, maybe later today or tomorrow. But I was able to get like a few people, and I have the recordings of Craft CMS. God, I can't remember. I talked to a few guys, and what happened was, so Ghost sponsored that series, John O'Nolan, and I was going to interview John about that again, about Ghost again. And as most things in life, when you're starting a side project, or side project, it like time marched on, you know, faster than you could like really keep up with the productivity of that. So I'm making an excuse, but it just took too long. Like I started reaching out to like other content management system like owners, and I got a few like smaller guys, right, with their CMS platforms. Jack McDade, whom I'm now forgetting the name of his CMS. It's fairly popular. Statamic, I think so. But the point is like the content got stale real fast because at the time this was sort of a knee-jerk reaction to what was happening with WordPress. When I was just like, holy shit, like I don't know what's going to happen to WordPress. Any people care about this stuff anymore? Is this thing going to implode? Are we all going to get sued? You know? And it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction where I was just like, I don't know, like let me just talk about other content management systems because now it seems like the time. And those conversations, they were good, like they were exploratory, like understand how you could use these CMSs. But then like I reached out to some other, like I reached out to Wix, Squarespace, you know, and it's just like, you're going to talk to some like marketing person, you know, you're not going to really talk to anybody who's like building the product. And then I was like, this is why commercial content management systems suck, because it's like a typical corporation where I want to talk to the person who's like thinking about the user and building the software, but it doesn't work like that, which is another appreciation to, at least, with WordPress, you might get Matt on your podcast from time to time. But anyway, the point is like time marched on, and I had like 4 or 5 conversations, and I was just like, this ain't working. Like, this doesn't feel good anymore. And the conversations were too stale. And as I mentioned, I feel like podcasting is back, at least if you're in the podcast industry. Like, there's a lot of progressive stuff happening, and you're just like, there's a better feeling than a year ago. So I was like, let me just this is a better environment, Ghost, to talk about podcasting and for Ghost to sponsor. Like, I started like with all the sponsorship stuff that I'm doing with the WP Minute. Like, I'm thinking like, well, what's the best sponsorship opportunity for Ghost? Is it to talk about content management systems to a bunch of technical people that are already like picked their CMS of choice? Or should I talk to podcasters who like need a website and a newsletter and they need it done easily? So I was like, I should just, this is it. Like, I should just go back to Ghost and use it as the platform for the podcast setup. And that's what brought me back. So I did a quick migration the other day, flipped the switch live on Cloudflare, realized that I forgot to migrate all the images and found myself downloading the backup from WordPress.com where I had the newsletter hosted, and quickly got back up and running with Ghost in the podcast setup. So if you go visit it now, you will see a Ghost, the default Ghost site and or theme. It's a great platform. It's a great platform for people who want simplicity and newsletters, like simplicity with your blog and simplicity with your newsletter. It's fantastic. But I feel the pain of like some of the stuff I'm already missing with WordPress, stuff that we take for granted for sure.
All right. So when do you launch the Ghost Minute?
I don't think I'll do that, but I am going to be, kicking up a proper podcast for the podcast setup, which is something that I've always wanted to do, and now's the time, in my opinion. So excited to do that, but excited to use Ghost again. They launched a bunch of new features, and this is not a sponsored segment, but it is a refreshing piece of software. When all you want to do is blog and do a newsletter. Check it out. Add it to your arsenal.
I mean, I've heard of it. I know people that use it. I've seen some interesting examples with it. I'm looking at the podcast setup now. I mean, yeah, I'll have to, I guess, check it out. I mean, independently, but the I don't know. I mean, I don't know where you want to go with this, but like, I mean, what are some of the things that you wish it had, or do you just feel like it's not going to have those things because it's for a different purpose?
Yeah, it's definitely for a different purpose. And the issue, like, love WordPress, love the flexibility of WordPress, but as a lot of us have talked about in the past, like that flexibility and that ability to do anything can like really detract from your goals, right? So for example, with the podcast setup, I'm always just like, I do a course for podcasting. Maybe I can have this resource section. And then you have WordPress where with like a power user like myself, I'm just like, well, I can build this. I can get Lifter LMS and put that in. I style it for like my courses. Then I can do like this resource section with like these cards and like do all this stuff and filter it and show it down. I'm just like, I get into these modes where I'm just like, I start building stuff and I'm just like, I'm never going to launch this. And it's because I'm in this WordPress thing that I'm like, I can do all this stuff. I can't do any of that with Ghost, right? Which some people might look at as a negative, but I'm just like, I can't do it. So guess what? I can just blog, newsletter, and do a podcast. That's it. And it allows me to just like move forward with the real goal, which is publishing content. So I like it because of that. And I like it because I'm not constantly like, thinking about like the custom things that I can do. And I'm not the first one to say this, but I'll tell you the biggest boat that WordPress.com has missed is that like Substack competition, which somebody else brought up recently in some headlines. It is not a great place to just blog and newsletter and just see that all in one nice dashboard. Like when you go to Ghost, log into Ghost, you see immediately, your newsletter membership count, you see, whatever your stats. It's just lightweight and shows you what your goals are. And with WordPress, you're like, how many freaking subscribers do I have? My subscribers are in Jetpack, but then my subscribers are in another section. And then when I want to make newsletter call to actions or like customize the newsletter, you can't. So I can't even I can't customize how my newsletter looks. And if I could, maybe it's like a couple colors. And Ghost is just like made for that. So yeah, I mean, from like a feature standpoint, it's what it doesn't have to offer, which is refreshing, in my opinion.
Mixed. I'm mixed on it. I mean, I feel like if that's where you want to start and that's like what you want to do, like blog and newsletter, then it seems like a great tool for that because it's all in one and everything you just outlined there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really tell if like can you actually is there any level of like custom, like I just want to say like custom post type
Yeah.
to any of it?
No. So, I mean, those are the things that, like, if you're used to that kind of experience, like custom post types and like organizing that content, custom fields, throw in your favorite visual editor of choice. Like, it doesn't have any of that.
Yeah, obviously. It doesn't have the
yeah.
party stuff or whatever.
Yeah. So, but no, you just have post pages, and I'll be quite honest, like even some of the custom stuff that you can do, like if you custom coded it, because I was just like, oh, I can go back and just have AI write, like if I want to make a post template or something, I'll just have AI do it. And I was just like, I had to set up a fucking local dev environment to connect up to it and like do all this shit. I'm like, I'm not even gonna do it. Yeah. I don't want to touch it. And my point is, 98% of the people operate without even thinking about that stuff, right? And especially if I want to focus on like podcasters and showcasing how like Ghost can be a great starting point for podcasters, and they're never gonna they're barely holding on to life, like trying to like launch a podcast. They're not thinking like how they're gonna update their custom post types and do all these like layout things. I know this because I worked in the industry for 3 years, and I worked with a company that had a WordPress plugin, and people freaking hated WordPress because they were trying to figure out how to do their podcast and wrestle with that, let alone just like trying to figure out WordPress. So, yeah, like definitely WordPress is like you graduate to that when you want to make a serious online business play out of your podcast, or you can just hire somebody to do it.
I mean, all right. So here's the thing.
Here's the thing, Mark.
I'm gonna unpack this. Okay. So the first thing is like certain, like if you asked like certain people about this, they would be really staunch one way or really staunch another way. I'm not really that guy. I like to see things from all angles and then kind of like assess, and I don't really think it's always nuanced. You know this. Here's the thing. If you go to, you don't have to bring this up, but like I'm looking at Ghost site and I see like they obviously have some big creators, publishers and shit like that. The one guy on here is Jay Klaus, Creator Science, right? And you hover over his thing and it says he's doing 39,000 MRR. It looks like you can, I guess you have paid members, right? Like you can have paid members through Ghost. Correct. Like for like almost like a Substack type situation. Correct. Or something or whatever.
Yes.
So that's dope. He is not a small operation. Like he's not like all the small like people that might be like using Ghost and trying to like, build build themselves up or whatever. Like he's a big operation. If you go to creatorscience.com, you can see it. And it's funny because like him and Nick Sarayev, the AI automation guy that I follow and had on my podcast, like they have a similar, you can tell it's a similar template, different colors, different things like that. You can tell there's a lot of similarities going on, but then this is where my mind goes. There's places in there where it's like, okay, wait. So Ghost is as it's described by you and that you can see it, is a mainly blog and newsletter platform. So you're going to think a lot of articles, and you're going to think in the back end newsletters. Maybe they're also hidden somewhere on the front end or whatever, but they're basically you're subscribing via that website, and then you're getting the newsletters delivered to your inbox. Okay, great, cool. But then the next step, like I alluded to, because this is the thing that I just personally love the most, is any level like CPT and stuff like that. So again, the easiest example is like courses, resources, tools, like that type of shit. On Creator Science, like there is a drop down for like free tools. You go to it, and then it shows you like a little bit of basically some text and a GIF, and the call to action is to get the tools via a opt-in, like a lead magnet, effectively. So I guess, correct me if I'm wrong though, you can do some interesting stuff on the newsletter side. Like you could say like, give me like in this form right here, particularly, if you opt into this, you'll get like a sequence, or you'll get like a special email, and then you'll get subscribed. Like you can do some of that in there.
So what you can do is he probably has it linked up to, he might have it like linked up to Zapier, and he might even do it where it sends it to like another, like email service for that, because there's not like this like big like automation. It certainly doesn't even compete against something like a Kit, certainly not a MailChimp. Like it doesn't have all of that stuff for the newsletter. He's probably integrating it to, some kind of third party, to do something like that. So let me just quickly share the screen here. So for those of you just listening to the RSS, if you're like the 3 people that might subscribe to audio only for this YouTube playlist, so I just cut over the other night, right, last night or something like that, and this traffic. This site doesn't get a lot of traffic, obviously, because I make 1 post a month. But like when I log in, I'm greeted with a very nice, clean dashboard, right? What's the latest post doing in terms of performance? And how many subscribers did that post get? How many visits does the site have? How many members do I have? And I can just kind of go through and quickly see like the health of, this website. And to me, as somebody who's not going to spend my life on this website, this is certainly not the day job or even the side hustle. It's just nice to be able to come in and just quickly see a snapshot and navigate the content and see how these pieces of content are performing, where these pieces of content are getting the most subscribers. If I go into posts and I'll go to the first one. Like this is the editor, as clean, I would say is as clean as, well, cleaner than Gutenberg, because you don't have all of the weight of WordPress around you. But this is it. I'm just in here editing content. And this is what I really like, because I can come in, make the post or publish the future podcast, and I move on with my life. We can pull up the sidebar. We have the typical sidebar that we normally see in WordPress. I don't know why that has a migrated tag. Let's get rid of those. Get rid of all these things. Just very, very clean, very easy, and that's what I like about it.
I mean, again, I don't think there's really right and wrong ways to do things, but what I like to do is I like to see how other people do stuff, and then I reverse engineer, okay, if I want to be like this person, what are they doing, and what is the cost benefit analysis that I can kind of see from them versus person XYZ and person ABC. So like if your goal with the podcast setup is to just do exactly what you're doing here, I think that works great, because you have realized what your constraint or your block is, and it's the fact that like, oh, maybe you want to do a bunch of other shit. So if you can't fight that urge because you're in WordPress, and you can't like you don't you like you it's hard to focus just on the blog and the newsletter because you want to add all this other stuff or you have all these other ideas, then maybe limiting your stack is an option.
Yeah.
So I understand the logic, for sure. That said, there is like if you look at again like the creator science example, main website is on Ghost. Courses.creator science is over on Teachable. I'm sure there's
Right.
other shit elsewhere because now what
Yeah.
we're doing is we are siloing each one of our properties into basically a different SaaS, like
Yeah.
individual SaaSes for individual things. Not saying it's not the right way to go, but I am saying now that we have like literally multiple different tools that we need to learn how to understand and do. Not only that, we're also kind of, I'm not an SEO expert, but we're also like literally breaking apart all of the different, I'm not saying throw everything onto one domain, like every single thing if you had like ecom and all this other shit, but like it's just, now it's a little more segmented. The branding is definitely going to be disjointed from place to place because you can't get the same templates, you can't get the
Right.
same look and feel on everything. And certain people aren't going to care about this stuff, but but it's
Right.
just like those are the things that I'm thinking about. Again, I don't think there's right answers across the board, but you do have to think about that stuff if you're like if you have any vision on where you're trying to go. Like, what is that going to
Right.
look like for you?
Yeah. And when I put this up against my greatest revenue generator, which is the WP Minute, obviously it's also a publication about WordPress. But if at some point, the podcast setup was generating as much revenue as the WP Minute, and it was time to do like we're launching courses on the WP Minute soon, and if it was time to like do courses and a membership site, like an interactive membership thing for podcasters, that's when I would be like, okay, because what this does is like what everyone, like I say everyone, but like a Jay Klaus, like he'll have his LMS on some other third-party platform. He has his community on Circle. Then he has his
Yeah.
website, over here on Ghost. And yeah, like you have this disjointed thing. And I agree with you. Like I want it all, especially I want it all under, WordPress at that point. That's me because I'm effective with WordPress. And I see it as like building up this bigger asset from the business side. Whereas, whatever. Like I think in Jay's case, he doesn't care because he's got enough membership and enough awareness anyway. So that's just a cost to him.
Well,
Whereas I would want it all in WordPress.
there's a
But I just
couple
wanted to point
things.
out before you continue. Yeah, before you continue, I just
Yeah.
want to point out I'm just looking at like this is it. Like this is the theme. This is how I customize this theme, which is the default theme for Ghost. And it's like a fraction of what you would get in like WordPress customizer, where I can change like the sign up call to action, what's highlighted on the homepage. I can switch it to a magazine style highlight. Like that's what I got, and I'm fine with it for this project. This works for me. I customize a little bit of the metadata, but that's it. Colors, site background color, woo, brand accent color, publication icon, typography, and I'm done and I'm off to the races. So that's that, and there's some other stuff you can do here, but that's about the extent of it.
I think like I've matured over time and I used to always want to do everything all in one and all in WordPress. And honestly, I still have, but like I'm more empathetic and understanding now that like the reason these things exist, the reason these SaaS platforms exist is because people want to do shit faster.
Right.
Like they want to do things faster. They want to get from 0 to 1 faster. And then you can always spend more money and more time and energy later, like scaling up to other things. And I think if we would all be a little more introspective, we would really come to that same conclusion because, I think we've spent a lot of time really getting into the minutia of things, of like building websites. And I'm not saying it's not a skill that you shouldn't continue to flex and have and develop, but if you're trying to make money on the internet, like you don't need to like build your own incredible website. again, I use just the people that I talk about here. Jay Klaus, like content creator, community manager, course creator, like all in different fucking places. Got this shit all spread out. Probably making ton of money. Nick Sarayev, school community, ghost website. I don't really think he does like course. Well, I mean, he had all of his shit on. He still has all of his like templates and stuff on Gumroad because that's where he started. Like this stuff is like from somebody like a branding and like data structure mind like me. I want to vomit when I see all of that everywhere. And
Yeah.
like, and then the open source part comes into my mind a little bit. And it's like, fuck, like, what if school like goes crazy with the prices, or what if they,
Yeah.
just and like just turn me off one day, like or something like that, like ban you. Like I'm so concerned about those types of things. I don't know. I don't know though, because there's no real answer. It's like you can't be like overly concerned about it, but you can't not care about it either.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's
But
so you're illustrating stuff that you've talked about in the past, stuff that we've talked about together, and we can transition and talk about what you've been up to the last week or so. But this is the thing with WordPress consultants, and I'm guilty of it in the beginning. I'm still guilty of it today. Like I just literally highlighted the fact that when I know WordPress, I look at something, I go, oh, I can do all this. I can do LMS. I can do this. I can do that. And it sounds like on a paper, you're like, oh, this is going to be easy. And then you realize like the time suck that it all, becomes, especially if you're trying to get pixel perfect and like do all these like really unique things. And I think when you go into like a consultative session with a customer, it's oftentimes like we lead with that like geeky WordPress can solve all these issues for you. Nah, man, you want it all in house. And then the customer's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. And then you're like, well, but to get it all in house, it's like $20,000. And they're like, fuck that. I'm just going to continue to like run on Ghost and have this over here. Like it's not worth the squeeze at that point. And then I think eventually you find a brand where, like you said, okay, you're doing, and this is a perfect case with Substack. This is why it drives me nuts that WordPress.com hasn't really competed all too well against Substack, because Substack takes X amount of revenue from creators. And Jason Calacanis has talked about this before, but like he's trying to do the math here. So let me say, what cut does Substack take? So eventually you get to this point where your brand has these risks, these platform risks or platform costs, that you go, okay, now it's time to invest in something like WordPress. So Substack takes 10%, and then Stripe takes their cut. So Substack platform. So if you're making if a creator, so you're making they're taking 25,000. So if you're making $250,000 a year, they're going to take 25%. 25,000, right? If you're like a bigger content creator on, say, Substack, and I'm sure they negotiate the fees down, but even so, if they went to 5% of your whatever 200 grand a year, I mean, does it make sense at that point to be like, oh, I'll just, instead of giving them 20 grand, 10, 15, 20 grand, do I just go to WordPress, and take and just invest in my own platform at that point? So I think it's like when you get to a certain point of either revenue or platform risk, that's when WordPress starts looking much like a much smarter decision.
I mean,
And that's a month. I'm sorry. That's a month that they take. So they take 10% a month, so that the costs go up even more.
maybe, yeah. I mean, that's to me, like mathematically, business wise, that does seem like that could make sense. But the other thing is just like the amount of time it would take somebody that's not, I don't want to say not technically inclined, because most of these people are like somewhat technically savvy, but like we are just so far in a bubble because we've been building these things
Yeah.
forever. Like if you didn't start building websites, then you would, like I have a lot of friends, they didn't start building websites, but they know how to build websites, but they don't really know the whole industry of of web and infrastructure and stuff like that, because they came into the game with the things that you didn't need to know that shit about. Like they just came in, started throwing shit on a canvas in Wix or Squarespace or whatever, which is fine. Like those SaaS products are there for some people, but yeah, at some point, like you may need to scale up and have somebody else that's a little bit more technical come into the picture and do that. Honestly, though, dude, I'm a little jaded on that. Like as we look at some of these examples, though, because there's a lot of people making a lot of money that they don't give a fuck about that, and they don't really
Yeah.
need to in some ways, because
That's
they're making a
yeah.
lot of money. Like we're
Right.
getting, like sometimes we get so far in the weeds and it's like, well, maybe our technology needs to be better. Our brand needs to be more aligned.
Right.
It's like, yes, asterisk. Like that might not actually be the real constraint of you making money. And that was actually that was funny because that was the thing that I had written down on here for some reason from our strange offline chats and murmurings that we've had here recently. And I don't know where it came from, but it was just like, and also like the things that I've been doing. It's like people want to make money. Like the average person, the average professional, like wants to make money. And then it's like, okay, well, we're creating content. So what should that content do for them? Well, it should help them make money, or they should at least perceive it as a way to help them make money. Most of it, again, some of it could be, I feel like, like more intangible, like value stuff. But ultimately, like, again, I just said this. I published that first episode with Kraler, like we're rebuilding his website. People are going, reasonably bonanza about that. Like they really like that. And it's literally just us showing the process that could potentially help them think differently and make more money by building websites. Like, cause they just want to see the technical stuff. And I have two schools of thought on this, but I'll table it for a second. But like, that's what it is just content to help you make money. And that's what all these guys do really well that I want to have specific conversations over on the MJS podcast with, because I just want to continue to hear, like, what are you guys doing? And it's, honest to God, none of it's like incredibly special. It's just like showing up, talking, dispensing as much value as possible. Jay's a great example. Most of his videos are literally with other people. Like I know he has courses and stuff, but Jay Klaus is like mostly just talking to other people about how they make money and how they create content or how they, have scaled whatever. And it's kind of a weird thing that we've all created on the internet at this point, but it's the game we're currently in.
Right. But, and don't you feel like, it's, so how do you feel about saturation? Like, do you feel like it's too saturated? Like when you sit back and go, I'm going to make this series about how to make money, does your brain instinctively go to, the market's too saturated, why should I do this? And I'm just throwing this out as a question. Like I don't have an argument for either side.
I think I used to think it was too saturated. And then I put content out consistently that was valuable. Like it's objectively valuable. The hardest part about content is when you put your biases aside and you know that objectively the stuff that you're putting out is valuable, but you don't have the distribution or the reach yet to actually get it in front of people. Like you could, like, think about the concept of, you could make a video that is objectively better than like fucking Marquez Brownlee or something like that, but there's no guarantee that you will get even an iota of the views just because you haven't done it enough yet. Like that video could be your best video ever, but it was your first video, so you don't have the fucking reach. You don't have the audience. And that shouldn't be discouraging. That's just something you need to understand. I wrote this line and I didn't say it in one of the shorts or anything yet, but it was like, I was thinking about like, you just have to be yourself and everything like that. If you want to create content though, you have to be comfortable with the fact that if you are yourself and you are authentic and you are vulnerable and you just put out value, you still might not make it because it just might not work out. And it's like, that's like one of the only things that have ever gotten me to really like understand that it is actually about just doing and not actually getting somewhere. It's about that journey thing. That's a little off topic, but my point is to what you're saying there, is it oversaturated? Honestly, like there's a lot of saturation, but for every person that is making the videos, there is still millions of people that are
Sure.
stuck. And this is where it gets a little fucked up. So like there's this whole problem where like I've been there of watching and consuming too much content and not doing enough, but now I'm perpetuating that by putting out content that would put people into that cycle. So that is the current slight mind fuck that I have, but I'm pushing that aside because I have to do what I have to do. But that and it's objectively good. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like you could be in a spot where you consume and don't create anything. But then as soon as you flip to the other side where you create more than you consume, now you have a cult or a following of people that are probably doing the same thing as you because you're creating that. You know, it's like I wonder how these people get all these views. It's like they have literal cult members that are just watching their shit. And I don't know if like some of them are probably mindless and they just watch and watch and watch and don't do anything. And it's like, okay, well, great. And they'll buy and they'll buy and they'll buy and they don't do anything. And they're not like ranking up and being successful. But now we're getting into just like basic human psychology or you know, the way that life works. There's going to be like just I feel like naturally like hierarchies of people as far as how much you do and how much you succeed or how far along you get. So that was definitely really out there, but that's I don't think it's overly saturated.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate how you break it down because I think where your particular advantage, as crazy as the Mark Szymanski brand might be,
it is. It's authentic as fuck.
Right. So I mean, and I think sometimes, and I understand why. Like sometimes you might lean towards more like it might come off like you are looking at things in a lens of like, how am I going to make, and this is totally fine. And it might not even be accurate, but like you look at things and go, how am I going to make money from this engagement? Like, how am I going to make money today? And that's fine if that's an objective, but you at least, not at least, you do want to, you actually care about providing value, I think, more than like the profit side. Like you definitely want to profit and you should think about that because there's people who don't even think about that and wonder why they're not making it.
Yeah.
But I think with you lead with the value first, whereas there's plenty of freaking people out there, Eisenberg, who just want to exploit the money side, right? Like when you can visibly watch somebody reading a script, like can't even look at the camera. Today's he's going to make us $1 million, and it's all done with this lovable AI. And insert clickable hype link here. I mean, it's just like, bro, you're just reading off a script. You don't even really care. Like, where's the passion? And I think that's what you lead with first and foremost. And I think there's a ton of people out there that just focus on the money side, right? It's just the business. It's just, and maybe not even the money side. It's just like the business side of it where I appreciate it. But I think in terms of content, I want to connect with somebody who's like doing it because they like it first. They like providing the value first. They like the topics that they're talking about. So anyway, I think that's your particular advantage in this.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the only reason that I've arrived a little bit there at this point now is because, like in the beginning of the year, that was my goal, is just make money this year. And then I take money for stuff that I end up not wanting to do, which I think it had to happen because I wouldn't have known. Like it was a growing experience. And then, we just get to where we're at. Like we deliver the things that we have to, but don't want to, or it's not like our main driver. I feel like it's forced content or forced deliverables, and it's not like value first. And then I realized that, oh, that's funny. The reason that I started my YouTube channel and got any level of, again, small notoriety whatsoever, anybody knows me, is because I just shared the shit that I was doing and shared the stuff that I was like learning and that had worked for me, or things that I was thinking about, and that's that is me. And that is the thing that I slightly lost, not too bad, but slightly lost it. And now I'm back to that because that's who I have to be. And then, so that's the value part of it. But then you talk about the profit thing. Yeah, you can't be too far on one side of the scale or the other, because you could be all money and people know that avatar, but you could also be like all value, all value, all value, and never ever sell anything. You know what I mean? It's like what's Gary Vee say, jab, 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 right hook or whatever. Like if you don't ever right hook ever, you're gonna go broke.
Yeah.
Like I've been on both sides of this now. First, I was providing too much value, not selling anything. Then I started selling things and not providing enough value. Now I got to sit right in the middle. Like I've figured this out. I'm not saying I figured everything out, but I've been
Yeah.
in this back and forth for like 2 years, and it's hard to stay in the middle. I'm sure long term, but it's like that's where you have to kind of like feel. And like when I look back, I'm always hard on myself, but when I look back and think about this, it's like we've learned a lot from that experience, and now I'm trying to tell other people that as well. And that's kind of that's the whole thing, is like you have
Yeah.
to make money, but you have to provide value first, and you have to believe that when you are providing the value and then you do make your asks, it's no different than just providing the value. It's like, hey, look, you know that I provide the value, you trust me, like I've built this trust with you, here's the thing that you can buy. You want it, great. If you don't want it, then no. But if you never, like, this is where I'm at right now. I have to start staying in that. I have to stay in that realm a little bit, because if I never offer anybody anything that is paid, I'm never going to make any money. Like it's that simple. And it's not like I haven't
Yes.
made money from other things, but like specifically around the
Right.
content side of it, it's very difficult to like think about like community or courses or other shit. It's just like you have to at some point ask people for money. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
After specifically after you've built trust, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like been the biggest thing with, again, the WP Minute so far this year, is, again, taking a air quotes break over the summertime with the content, and having Kurt and Toby run some stuff over the summertime, has given me that sort of point, and that freedom to kind of like figure out what's happening next. Is it happening as fast as I wanted? No, never does. But it has like it has given me the ability to get more sponsors and at least get the offering a little bit more, refined. Because I think like you, I think anyone who wants to lead with value and being helpful first and foremost, it's sort of just always, especially if you're busy and it's just a side hustle thing, like the ask is always gets left off to the side, because you're so busy doing, this is just, I may be just speaking for myself here, but like for years, just being like, I'm going to put out this content and then never ask anybody or ask for sponsors, until 5 years ago, but like never ask for sponsors and not have a game plan for growing, that revenue channel. And thinking of it like a business, because you have nothing left in the tank in terms of like time and resources. That's the hardest part, at least for me anyway.
If you are somebody, I would classify myself as this, you as well. There's a lot of people out there that like, okay, so it's before the content, you're just a helpful person. Like
Right.
I always enjoy helping people. If somebody asks me a question and I know something about it, I'm probably going to answer them because I like being helpful, some sort of sense of fulfillment, ego boost, whatever it is. Like I enjoy that. Okay. In a productive way, I enjoy that. Okay, great. So then you take that into not from one-to-one relationships, but now you take it and you're like, okay, I can scale this. I could just take the questions I get or just come up with things and just make YouTube videos. And then now more people can see that. And that's how that works, right? But the other thing is like, if you can start doing that and you keep the right mindset about that, it's so easy to just, and I say easy, but like, it's so simple to like, be like, okay, hey, look guys, I'm giving you this much value completely for free all the time. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to go like 20%, 30%, whatever, however you want to, visualize it. I'm going to take this top part of this and I'm going to make extra content, but you're going to have to pay for this stuff. So you can completely stay for free and get all this stuff that you've already been getting, totally fine. But I'm going to give you extra content in the form of, again, a community or course or whatever. And that's the playbook that I've seen. Again, I bring it up a lot. Jay Klaus, Nick Sarayev. I mean, they just have like, I don't even understand exactly how this info product economy has gotten to the scale that it is, again, this really messes with my psyche on the human psychology and philosophy area angle, because like I just don't understand how there's so much money here. How are people paying? I have paid such a
Well,
small amount for courses and shit in my life, and I feel like I'm pretty far along. Like, not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying, like, I don't think you need all this stuff, but I'm also like treading in the water of providing some of this stuff. So it's really messing with me a little bit, but it's crazy
I
how
think
much
you
money
also,
people are spending on this shit.
I think you also have to maybe be cautious of like how much of it is true versus how much is like a bunch of bullshit. But
I mean,
I'll tell you, I mean,
yes, but a lot of people show receipts now.
I mean, hey, ChatGPT, draw me a picture of a Stripe, account receipt. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's so easy. Listen, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that. Well, we'll run out of time, but it dates back, a long time ago. I mean, I remember 2000 when I started an actual blog. Like, I was like, I'm gonna blog, which was like 2005, 2006 ish, maybe even earlier than that. I mean, I remember this guy Chris Brogan, who used to be a bigger internet influencer and written a bunch of books. He lives maybe like an hour and a half north of me, and he was like a big internet influencer, and he was the one teaching people about how to make money with blogging. And I remember him signing up for like an $80 webinar that he was hosting, or whatever the number was. It was cheap, $50, $80, forget what it was, 100 maybe. But the point is like, he's on the show, he's on the live stream, and people are asking like, how much have you made off of this live stream? Which was probably, I don't even remember what the hell software he used. It was so long ago. And he just like opened up the screen and showed he made like $40,000 like on this live stream. And the room was just like, holy shit, how did you do that? But he was an author for, and he had a presence. So this info stuff has been around for a long time. And I actually feel like it's dried up more than it used to. I mean, you used to have all the Lambo videos and like what the hell's that name? Kai, that guy Kai or whatever the hell his name is.
Ty Lopez.
Ty Lopez.
Here in my garage.
Yeah. Like, God. I mean, he's probably still scamming people. I don't know. Yeah. So it's just like, shit's been around, for a long time. And yeah. Anyway, I think it's harder. I want to say it might be harder these days, but also maybe never as easier than ever with all the technology and stuff we have at our fingertips. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
that's the hour mark.
I don't know. We'll save it, I guess.
All right. So
it's wild time.
So tease what else you're working on. This is a whole new series with Gray Dog. Is that what you got going on? Is it
yeah. We started filming these a couple months ago. He wanted a new website. He's doing some new branding. Mm-hmm. So we needed to spruce it up.
Bedroom
he had some
studio.
SEO issues. In my bedroom studio. Yeah, that's where the initial episodes were filmed. So yeah, it's a little weird. But yeah, so working on that. We just dropped the first episode yesterday. Probably gonna do one episode per week because we already have like 10 of them filmed, and my fabulous editor Nathaniel has been working on them for the editing side and packaging and everything. So yeah, probably once a week for the next 10 or so at least. But I think the series is probably going to be, well, actually it's a series called Agency Grade Builds, but this is season 1 because I think I'm going to do this again with my site and with other people's sites. So this season is probably going to be like almost 20 episodes. It's pretty intense. But yeah, the whole process, you see everything, all the work that goes into creating this, you're seeing it. So pretty excited.
You've already recorded all 20?
For already recorded like 10. Yeah. And we're not even at development yet. So
has the site already been developed? Like how far? No, what's the lag?
It's designed. Like we didn't do the development yet.
Okay.
So we didn't film it yet. So yeah, it's coming along. It's looking sick. We had Nick RC design it. So Pretty dope. We're going to build it in
Look at-
Etch.
Wow. Oh, okay. Great. That'll be a great use case to finally see that thing in action.
Got Kevin on speed dial. He's going to need to help me.
Right. Well, people say that there's a Rogan sphere of comedians. Maybe there's a Zemansky sphere of web developers and content creators.
I'm a network guy. You know, I'm like, just attract good talent, I guess. Just networking, you know? So.
All right, that's enough. Pat yourself on the back. It's the WP Minute, the WP Minute, the WPMinute.com/subscribe. And hey, if you're a podcaster or somebody who enjoys other podcast related information, thepodcastsetup.com. Thanks for watching.